Welcome along to what is going to be a very heartfelt, personal sharing of memories of a really, really close friend, my longest friend in music. Depending on when you're watching this, it's 7 days to the day that we lost Eamon Downes, devoted husband to his wife Stella, devoted father to his daughter Bea. He loved his Italian life and his Italian family. He spoke amazing Italian, and it's been an incredibly profound, sad, full of sorrow but inspiring week, because the man, along with Shane DJ Model, made an absolute timeless classic with Liquid Sweet Harmony, and mine and Eamon's brotherhood, closeness, friendship, journey through life goes back to before he met Shane and made this incredible classic and a number of other classics as well. And it had a real profound effect on me, our friendship throughout life. He was very stoic, Eamon. He was also sober for 27 years. He was very, very sensitive and endearing, and was also caring and empathetic to other humans. So when we announced on Monday morning, the day after he passed, and put our dedications, our memories, our love out for him into the world, not just the music world, but people who he'd been in touch with, who he never knew, who he'd helped through addiction, helped through bad times in their life. And he was a beautiful, loving, caring man. And I want to do this video recording of sharing his music. I've got so much memorabilia from both of us, from the silly jokes he used to send me, as he did with many other people, and with messages and stuff. But I want to play his music, I want to remember his music with you all, and I also want to share the memorabilia and stories behind some of the stuff, like things that he wrote in my book, interviews we had together, why he would screenshot me when I got out of the bath and then send me postcards with like office quotes like, "I don't agree with that in the workplace." That used to like give him much humour and just make his days so happy when I used to open up the door to the postman and gifts and stuff would come. But it seems only right that we kick off with Liquid Sweet Harmony, which I played as my last tune in the Centerfall stage at Bug Jam last night. He loves Centerfalls. When we started in a record shop late 89, early 1990 together, we served many of the Centerfalls DJs, and he loved Centerfalls. Please leave your love and memories for Eamon Liquid down here, because his wife, his daughter, his family will be seeing them all. We're also sharing lots of memories and histories in a group with me, Sonia, Stella, his wife, and Bea, his 13-year-old daughter. And yeah, this session on YouTube is going to be emotional, but I felt I've wanted to do it to just share with you the love that I had for him, and how deep our history goes before this magical piece of music. an absolute timeless track. And I woke up this morning from last night's gig, Bug Jam, in which I started the set and dedicated it to Eamon, and I got everyone in the arena to put their lights and their phones up, and it was just beautiful. I'm going to share that on my page. And then also Terry Crome from Chrome and Time, they was at Brighton Beach last night, and they put up a video of Carl Cox playing Sweet Harmony, and I sent the video of from Chrome and Time's page of Carl Cox playing the tune straight to Stella and Banter, like Carl Cox playing it on Brighton Beach. And this flyer, Labyrinth 2000 AD, proudly present Saturday 20th of April 1991. Every picture tells a story. Adrian Age, Kenny Ken, Fantasy, Easy Mo, Steve Bell, Ginge R.I.P, Vinyl Matt, Lloyd Anthony, Hot Bitch, Billy Daniel Bunter, Jamie French, and DJ Aim. And there's a story to this. Also on this flyer is Prodigy, R.I.P, Keith Flint, and Mike West, who's Rebel MC Congo Natty. And Eamon, DJ Aim, on that flyer, he never actually played at this event or DJ'd for Labyrinth, but such was mine and Eamon's friendship before this record was made. And when we was working in a record shop, we started out in a record shop called Pools for Music in Whitechapel. And what used to happen was we would be working in the shop all week. All of the new music was coming in from around the world, and either my dad would take me to Labyrinth, or me and Eamon, we'd be working in the shop during the week, and I would stay at his flat in Stepney over in the East End, and he would drive me. So either one of them would drive me when I was 15. And because me and Eamon was in the shop all week, in the record shop, we knew what was going to be big and what was going to be like the tunes of the coming weeks and coming months, because we had the heartbeat of the shop. And Eamon used to stand next to me through every set for a good year or so before he made his first 12-inch. And he used to be so excited about the records that we'd been selling people during the week. And he used to just stand next to me, fully supporting. And it was funny last night, Time in Sweet Harmony is my last tune of my first gig since he'd passed, because we all like, I say this with a huge smile on my face, we used to love getting on. We made no bones about it in books and interviews, and we used to always time them for the end of my set so I wouldn't mess up my set. And lots and lots of times we used to time it wrong, and I used to mess up the last 15 or 20 minutes. But so much was our endearing friendship even then, when Eamon was 21 and I was 15, when we were both starting out together. Labyrinth put Eamon's name as DJ Aim. They just come up with the name DJ Aim with Eamon and put that on this flyer as a love and mark for mine and his friendship even back then. And that was the first time you ever saw the name DJ Aim on a flyer or a piece of history that involves music and the rave scene. an absolute classic, Liquid Fog, and it was always really important for Eamon to big up Shane, the other member of Liquid, and even when we did our interviews for like Sweet Harmony, the art gallery, when I get onto that, in my book I'm going to read some passages that Eamon wrote in my book, The Love Dove Generation. He was always really happy that in any interviews that I did, I also bigged up Shane Model, and they both met in the record shop that we was working in. And this is a piece that Eamon wrote in my book, The Love Dove Generation. Dan would take on an interrogatory look, not aggressive, with the customers, almost like, go on then son, it's your turn to impress. We'd go out on a Friday night and Dan would be DJing. We'd then go straight to the shop on the Saturday morning, completely screwed. Our boss Dave was running a key record shop in the Acid House and Rave heyday, but he was quite sweet and innocent really, and he never realised that we were under the influence or not in the best of shape. Dan used to spike my coffee even though he was only 15. When I look back now in the cold light of day, it seems odd that I was working away in the shop whilst this kid was tipping to my tea. Paul's was quite an intense environment because the music was on full volume. Dan was really good at putting this face on that said, if you don't want this tune, then you don't know nothing. You'd put certain records on and 3 or 4 people would want a copy. Some people would buy anything you played them. We always made sure the best customers brought good records. He's letting in some secrets there. No one wants to go home and feel they've been mugged off with a dud tune. Many people started their careers off the back of Labyrinth. Shane Hennigan and I released Sweet Harmony under the name Liquid, recorded for £80 in 1991. And Dan would have been the first person to play it at Labyrinth. That track kick-started my entire career. Once Dan started to make a name for himself, I started achieving a level of success in a different area, and that changed the dynamic at Paul's for Music, the record shop we work. Suddenly people treat you differently if they know you're a DJ or that you make music, and he says I've never been a fan of that, and he never ever was. Anyway, our careers were taking off and working at Paul's become too time consuming, which was a shame as that place kept you plugged in, especially to what people liked. It gave you a real sense of what was going on musically. And it's mad because on the reflection from last Sunday and the profound effect that Eamon's passings had on me, I really have thought a lot about our time in the record shop. And basically before he made these records with Shane, before my DJing took off all over the UK, Europe and the world in the late 90s, early noughties, when I was a warm-up DJ, when his buzz was standing next to me and he hadn't made these tunes, I said to Sonia, before we'd even begun, we lived in a magical moment of our lives as friends together, and we've always held it so dear. We've always, in interviews and history and podcasts, and we've always shared that experience of those magical times before we went off and did what we did. A really funny thing that sums Eamon up, right? So this track here, Gabrielle Dreams, the 1993 commercial house hit, if you like. This version was from 1991, And basically, he loved this record. Like, we, as well as loving all the house, the breakbeat, the European rave that was coming through, we also loved down-tempo Balearic beats. We loved Andy Weatherall. We loved Terry Farley and Danny Rampling and all that kind of Balearic alternate scene. And we loved lots of the slower records that come into the shop. And he really loved this original version of Dreams, Gabrielle, and I never liked it. And every week when this come out for about 4 to 6 weeks, he would slip it in my record box in the shop before we headed back to his flat in Stepney. We always had curry and chips. Don't ask me why, that was always his pre-rave meal. And he'd always have curry and chips, and then we'd go off and I would DJ 10 to 12 or 10 to 1 the warm-up set at the Labyrinth down at 12 Dalston Lane, and he would slip this in, and I used to often play slower records or a record at the end of my set. It was a thing back then, and he always wanted me to play this record. I'd be like, I ain't playing that, it ain't a bit of me, it ain't as good as like Saint Etienne, Only Love Can Break Your Heart, and it just didn't pop for me, but I'm going to play it for you. But I found it the other day. It was when we come back from Italy, from spending the time with his family, it was the first thing I found, and I was just laughing because the reason why I've still got it is he just never ended up taking it back from like 1991, and it's been in my collection for 34 years. And I would be lying if I said, like, at least once a week he'd still going, you've still got my stolen Gabrielle Dreams, you've still got my dreams, why did you steal it from me? And I'm like, I didn't steal it from you, I didn't even want the record. And he would always say to me like, it's worth money now, and that's why you're keeping it. And if you go on Discogs, it's worth like £2. And I would say to him, it's a frisbee, it's worth £2, and I don't even think he's heard it since 1991. But let me just play you this. So anyway, he has been obsessed with me stealing this from him for 34 years, and we used to speak 5, 10, 15, 20 times a day because he lived in Italy. And bizarrely enough, at the same time that ended up staying in my record box and record collection, but about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months after that, 5 months even after that record, and then they went in and recorded the Future Music EP. And before we get on to that EP, he phoned me up one day and he said, you know your copy of Sterling Void and Paris Brightledge, it's all right, can we borrow it, because we want to sample it for a tune? And this was I think this was 87. Yeah, it was 1987. And me and him in the record shop used to absolutely love like the more gospel flavoured 87, 88 original kind of house music, and we both absolutely loved that. We loved that stuff, and Eamon borrowed my original copy of this off me, and he kind of never ever give it back. He never ever give it back to me. I've ended up buying it in like the past 20 years, and he never ever give it back to me, because he's saying, I'm keeping that for you, nicking my Gabrielle Dreams. And it was just a running joke. But I want to play you the a cappella that they sampled, because this sums up Eamon's loving and caring and empathetic nature, and then we'll get onto that.
Revolutionists in South Africa taking a stand. People in Eurasia on the brink of oppression. But it's gonna be alright. Alright. Cause the music plays forever on and on. Yeah. And it's gonna be alright. Alright. Cause the music plays forever on and on and on. Yeah. Alright. Generations will come and go, but there's one thing for sure. Music is our life's foundation, and shall succeed all nations to come. Yeah. And it's gonna be alright. Cause the music plays forever on and on and on. Yeah. And it's gonna be alright. Cause the music plays forever on and on and on and on and on. Yeah. Woo! The year 3000 may soon come to pass. Oh, but the music shall last. I can hear it on a timeless wavelength, never dissipating and giving me strength.
And yeah, this style of gospel vocal house, the original sound of house music, the depth and soul of real black R&B gospel depth that carried on into house music, that was mine and his passion in the shop. And then as all of the bleeps and the bass and the breakbeat stuff and the dub heavy bass lines come in, that really excited us. And Eamon was a big dub reggae fan. And I'm gonna play you a reggae track that Eamon made, and he made some great reggae under various names with humongous legends like Earl 16, Spider, many people. And it was always important for him to carry that soul of music with him. I'm going to play you the year 3000, which he sampled that record from. But it will ever make me happy knowing that he wouldn't give me back my It's Alright, because he just made up in his head that I'd stolen his £2 frisbee, which is actually a beautiful record, Gabrielle Dreams. This is the year 3000.
Let's go! Let's go!
And Eamon fought really hard over the years. Four years, 4 to 5 years with his tumour, and he beat it a number of times, and the final time that he got it was the day my dad passed away, and it was just a running joke. It was a running joke every time my dad come round the house, or every time I was voice noting Eamon or video calling him and my dad was here. Eamon would always say to my dad, "I'm harder than you," and my dad would go, "No, I've got loads of video footage of them both just bantering over who's the hardest." Neither of them were hard. Eamon loved boxing and was really good at shadow boxing, and my dad, who's like, at the time, like a few years ago, 70 odd, my dad would go, "I'm harder than you," and then Eamon would send videos back of him shadow boxing and go, "No, I'm harder than you." Here's something Eamon wrote in my book, which involves my dad. "There was trouble one night at Lee Valley Trading Estate. People were getting mugged in the toilets of the Rave. I was a tad paranoid and not the most reliable witness, as I was watching Adamski play live, going to everyone, 'Look, Adamski's on,' when he was nowhere near the place. I went outside and was telling Dan's dad what was going on with the muggers, and he rolled up his trousers and had a gun, tapped to his calf and just laughed and went, 'Don't worry, son, I'm the ace face. I'll get that sorted.'" And that was their banter as far back as 1991. And yeah, it when my dad went and Eamon's tumour come back for the fourth time I think, the day my dad passed, that was a heartbreaking day. He would have been so proud that Carl Cox played his track last night at on Brighton Beach, and he'd have been so proud to see the love and the energy from all of the music magazines, some of the newspapers that he would have read, and some of the newspapers he wouldn't have liked. But Hooge Tunes, the legendary house and trance label Hooge Tunes, left a message on my post last week saying that they put on an event in 1992 and they will never ever forget Andy Weatherall playing Liquid is Liquid. And basically mine and Eamon's inspiration in the record shop, and a huge everything that he did and everything he stood for, was Andy Weatherall when we worked in the record shop, and we just loved his vibe. We loved his vibe of the early music he produced and his DJing. And me and Eamon had, when Who's Tunes left that message and said that they'll never forget Andy Weatherall playing Liquid is Liquid, his last tune at one of their events, me and Eamon had never spoke about that in our decades of friendship and marvelling over Andy Weatherall, and it just got me wondering, thinking, I don't think he knew that. And I know that would have been like a pinnacle, proud moment, and he would have loved the irony as well, because there was a period where some of like the mix mags and DJ mags really sort of po-po'd rave music, and some of the house DJs as well, and a few things were said in like 91, 92 about how Liquid helped Sweet Harmony kill rave along with other rave records, and without actually knowing the depth of Eamon's knowledge. And he would have loved the irony all of these years later, you know, those kind of magazines covering him, and then hearing that one of his biggest inspirations had played this tune. And Liquid is Liquid, for me, and you've seen the videos of me and Eamon talking about it on social media a few years ago, and this was always my favourite Liquid tune that they did, and he'd made it. He was always, his thing was the roots of house music, the black roots of house music, and he also loved those deeper 5 a.m. moments, what he called 5 a.m. moments, as much as he loved the big hands in the air peak time moments. But they were his, when we worked in the record shop, the deeper tunes, the bassline tunes of like 89, 90, 91, that was his love, because he grew up on dub music and he loved dub music. And when they made Liquid is Liquid, and he gave it to me, and I was the first to play this. It was built for 5:30 a.m. when the rave had been popping all night, and then it just needed those bass heavy instrumentation, just those simplistic melodies, and I always felt, and I hope you would agree, that this is such a precursor for the latter garage sound and dubstep and heavy bass music. Like a decade to 20 years later, this record is just so pioneering and so timeless. Please leave all your memories, your comments, your thoughts, your love down below for Eamon Liquid and the amazing music that he made with Model through this period. For me, this is one of the greatest minimal breakbeat bass dub UK pieces of music ever made. And when we first met, he was really big into reggae, Eamon, and you can hear his love and passion for it in this track. And in recent years, he was tireless, continual in making music. And I just want to show you a track that he made with Sanction, who's Sparky, who he's been making music with for like 15-20 years, and the legendary Spider, who made of course Tarantula, and he's absolutely huge with bass layers at the moment. And Spider was one of the first people who called me on Monday morning when he heard the news, and Spider and Eamon just had a magical connection. And Eamon's vision and love and passion for reggae music, even though like Spider is that, he's just that voice and that vibe over jungle and drum and bass, Eamon along with Sanction really brought out that vibe of Spider but in reggae music. And he went under the name with Sanction, Dub Hooligan with Spider, Make Them Guan, and it's on Tough Scout Records, which is on the floor record shop out of Camden, who was a good friend of Eamon's. And they released this, and I just want to give you a little flavour of this, and I'm going to read something from the Sweet Harmony book, the gallery that was named after Liquid Sweet Harmony, and then share some other memories of you. But I hope that this gives you a real understanding of Eamon's love for reggae. Large up to our good friend Spider, and out to Mark, Sparky, Sanction. Sanction and Eamon were very close, and you may have seen me smiling there, and I'm going to show you why again, and hopefully you can see closely on this, and then I'm going to read you this conversation that me and him had, and bear with me. So if you look there on this picture of me and him performing together, he's kind of licking his lips there, and part of his show, his live PAs, if you go back through videos of him, he always had this kind of showmanship where he'd be like making it look like he was on one, and he was always replicating that 1991 Love Dove period that we used to have, and he just sort of made it part of his act, his live PA act over the years, and he knew it was funny. He knew it was proper funny. I want a massive accolade to Shane and Eamon's record Sweet Harmony. Was Saatchi and Saatchi had a huge rave art gallery that they did, and they named it after their incredible record, and they invited me and Eamon along to have a conversation, and then they recorded it for the Sweet Harmony book that they released, and they called it Liquid Talks to Billy Daniel Bunter. And it says, back in 1990, if you dropped into the legendary Paul for Music record shop in London, Whitechapel, you'd have found two friends working behind the counter. This pair would go on to be known, and he wouldn't have liked this next bit, as rave legends. He would not have liked that. Under the DJ names Liquid and Billy Daniel Bunter. Liquid, of course, released the anthem Sweet Harmony that this exhibition takes its name from on XL Recordings. And Billy Daniel Bunter was the youngest resident at Labyrinth at the iconic Four Aces. And they say I was just 14, they got that wrong. And a pioneer of hardcore. We listened in on a chat they had about the songs that defined rave culture for them. And I'm going to read you the chat because it's literally just me and him talking about these amazing times. And I've been saying to Sonia, our stories have never changed between us that we've told in interviews, documentaries, podcasts, radio shows, whatever we've done. And incidentally, over the past nearly 20 years, we have documented 4 or 5 hours worth of interviews between me and him that we've got all the video for. We've managed to get the videos done, downloaded, or we've taken them from the archive and we're getting them cleaned up, and we're going to put it all together because something that maybe I'd selfishly hoped for, that, and we all do it when we know people are passing or they're ill, we selfishly want them to get better, and like we you know, we egg them on and we encourage them, and the sadness of life is sometimes when we lose people, they are getting worse and getting more ill. And I just dreamed of him coming on my new podcast, and sadly that's not going to happen, but we have got all of this video footage from me and him which we're going to get up, and it's made me more determined to celebrate all of my friends and peers in this music via this channel, and it's made me more determined than ever to keep spreading this music. So the chat went, Liquid, it's hard to have an overview of the UK rave scene that's not heavily influenced by our own experiences, Dan. Working in the shop, going Labyrinth, if we'd have been in Leeds or Manchester, it would have probably been LFO or Nightmares on Wax. But for me, the first tunes that started coming through for the rave, breakbeat, hardcore things, the early SL2, awesome stuff that they were bringing into the shop, Shut Up and Dance, Kicking Records. I go on say, yes, Chromosome, The Rush, Metronome, Voyage to the Bottom of the Bass, One Tribe, What Have You Done? It all felt like it belonged to London. It had such a London-centric vibe. It was always coming to us. We worked in an East End record shop. I DJ'd in East London, in an East London rave. You and Shane back then produced records in an East End studio. It wasn't until later we realised these records meant the same to people all over the UK as they did to us. They were the start of something special and the sound of a moment that could never be captured again. Eamon said, and what was the name of the geezer that brought in the Satin Storm stuff and also the Reel to Reel stuff? I still remember the Reel to Reel fella being in the shop and me playing him Narrow Mind for the first time. He just stood there going, evil bassline face. He just stood there going with an evil bassline face. That kind of sound, Narrow Mind, Hooligan 69, all had such a British London influence, such a unique sound. I say Travis, Satin Storm, what unsung hero, as was John Real to Real, who brought WIE into the shop. So many guys passed through with their white labels. DJ Hype when he was working on the Scientist records for Kicking. PJ and Smiley from Shut Up and Dance. It was a magic era. Eamon says, John, Real to Real, that's it. His stuff was wicked. He said, it's hard for me to talk about my own tunes, but even you being the first person that played Sweet Harmony and Liquid is Liquid at a rave, me with you in the booth, and especially the Four Aces booth above the floor, all just captures the incredible power of the time that we were oblivious to then. And he then says, blimey, all the East London labels as well, Labello, Blanco, Boogie Times, all of them coming in the shop, no messing about and giving us their tunes. I say to him, I don't think we believed the influence they were creating or that anything was happening anywhere else other than East London. We were in our own little teenage world, or I was. You will always be much older than me, son. Laugh out loud. You can't say this, I say to him in the conversation, but I can. Sweet Harmony is one of the biggest piano rave records of all time. And Liquid is Liquid is one of the most influential records in the history of jungle, garage and dubstep. It does perfectly capture the essence of all those genres. Liquid in this conversation in front of the journalist at Saatchi Saatchi Gallery, all very highbrow and la-di-la. Eamon turns around to me and says, you sexy bastard. I am glad we didn't know. I would have been more of a diva. He was never a diva. He's just being endearingly cheeky. And I say to him, it's mad how that era, London and the surrounding counties, created such a unique sound. One that went on to form jungle and drum and bass, Labello, Blanco, Ibiza, Production House, Moving Shadow, Hertfordshire, Suburban Bass, Romford, and the label that spawned the most important DJ of the culture, Andy C via Ram Records, Romford again. The list of breakbeat labels is endless, pre-breakbeat, rave, hardcore, jungle. And then I say to him, we've got to big up Longsy D, Renegade Soundwave, Rebel MC, Double Trouble, DJ Ron, Shut Up and Dance, DJ Hype, for the mixing of that reggae and ska bass with hip-hop and breakbeat. And he just says to me, unique time, son. And we forever between us had a passion for that era and that history that we had, just working in a really small East End dusty record shop with a fascination and love and passion for black house music and hip house music and acid house music out of Chicago, New York, Detroit. And one of our proudest moments and quite possibly our deepest, proudest moment together as music fans was when Eamon met Fast Eddie. We both met Fast Eddie, and Fast Eddie and Liquid made this 12-inch which has Clout Chasing on one side and Get Straight on the other, and Fast Eddie become a great friend of ours. And it was just so important for us to make it look American, and the dream was for Eamon to make this record with Fast Eddie, me and Sonia release it, and for our own selfish reason was just to put it in shrink wrap and make it look like a US import. I'm going to play you this, Liquid and Fast Eddie, Get Straight. Shout out to our old mate Eddie over in Chicago. We love you, Ed, and we were all so proud when Eamon and Mark Sparky Sanction made this with the legendary Fast Eddie.
Oh my God! so damn hard. It's time for me to tear it apart. So watch me knock this right out the park. But first thing we gotta get straight is I created hip house in '88. I had them all shaking like an earthquake. I gave them dope lyrics with the beat break. Cause I came to party. Don't act like you forgot me. I'm known as the DJ, F-A-S-T-E, double D-I-E. You see, it's all still getting raw to raw. From shore to shore, still moving the floors, giving you more. And we give it to your heart to the core. That's what you dancing for. Somebody tell me what's the deal? What I'm hearing, is this real? Sounds to me like mass appeal. Going straight to the top of the hill. It's time to catch a groove and start jacking. So you better put your boots on, now strap in. Cause I'm fast and I'm coming. While the drummer is drumming and drumming. So call me the Pied Piper. When I come through, it gets hyper. I bring the party to the party. I make everybody move their body. Dancing, bouncing and prancing. From the underground to castles and mansions. We enhancing and still advancing. So get your ass in and keep dancing. Come on, come on. That's what you dancing for. Come on, come on, come on.
It was such a huge thing for us to work with Fast Eddie, and it was such a huge thing to make it feel like an American import. And you've probably seen me smile away throughout this, as well as struggling with some of the memories. So Eamon had such a cool creative mind, and he just wanted a comic book. He literally wanted a comic book of our life in 1991, and that was it. He just, and his thing was, we've got to get it in coffee shops around Chelsea and Camden, and I'm thinking, what has coffee shops and us and Rave and Doves and Mitsubishi's got to do with anything? And he persuaded us to do this thing, me, him and Sonia. He was just adamant. He'd met a guy, he knew a guy who was really good at comics, and Eamon just wanted to write this script for this comic, and it ended up losing us a fortune between me and him. And we printed, I think it was like 300 to 500 of the record, and the record sold out. You can't get the record anymore, but he just wanted this comic. He was just obsessed. He just wanted to make us rave superheroes that worked in a record shop, and then once we popped to Mitsubishi, we become rave superheroes and saved the day. And it's so funny. This comic is so funny. He wrote the script for it, and it's all his humour within it. But the record did well, but this cost so much to do. The record ended up, I can't remember, it was say like 6 to 10 grand, and it cost far cheaper to get the comic printed in bulk. The printing was the cheap bit. It was the design and the time that it took, and everyone who got the record got the comic books, and we had loads of this comic book left, and over the years, the warehouse, Data Beats, who send out all of our stock when people order it, they had boxes of this thing here, and they said, can we throw them away now? And Eamon was always like, oh, go on then, just throw them away. And I just couldn't bring myself to throw them away. I just couldn't. And over the years I've given them away, like at our Rave Story event, and I've done things where you can still get it for free in the with anything you buy from our site. So over the years, if we've sold the Love Dove book, you get this for free in it, because I just couldn't bring myself to throw it away. And eventually all the ones at Data Beats went, and I took they're behind that Genocide 2 Art Jazz piece of art. I've got a box. I've got about maybe 200 of these left, and I'm so happy that I never got them thrown away. And it come with this record, Mitsu. Billy Daniel Bunter and Liquid present Mitsu, and there's a track on here called Dove Removal Machine. I think I'm gonna play it at the right tempo, and this is a record that me, Eamon and Sanction made together. I think it plays... No. Well done. It plays at 45, and I'm really proud of this track. Really, really proud. And I've just seen something in this comic book that has reminded me of something else. I don't know if you can see that up there, a fist. So many moons ago, like, I don't know, 14, 15 years ago, someone just randomly at an event gave me this 15-inch rubber fist. And it, I don't know how it became a thing. And so when he's written this script, it says in its like comic way, like of pictures of me and him and the record shop, it says one of the interludes between us, why have you got that fist? And then I say, a woman gave it to me last night. And then it kind of like, it has all these pictures of me and him and these cartoon drawings. But I remember, and I should have got it out, I should have remembered it. He, about 15 years ago, along with all of the stuff that he gets me, and there's a poster up there that he done. And I used to get tons of stuff like this. I'd get out of the shower and he'd phone me or video call me, and then he'd just like screenshot it and then send it. But about 15 years ago, he sent me this t-shirt saying I love fisting on it. And whenever I'd be on a lineup with super cool people like Kenny Ken and Groove Rider and Ray Keith and people, or in the early days of my Music Monday show when Ragga Twins would come up, or it wouldn't matter, wear your t-shirt, make sure you get a t-shirt with Kenny Ken with your I Love Fisting t-shirt, make sure you get and it would just be like, you'd have to like humour him and put the t-shirt on, and like our life was just like that, where we would just continually humour each other's silliness. And the amount of people on all of the posts who said he was the most funny unfunny man on the planet. Something that we're gonna do is we released an album before the kind of big vinyl boom that we've had in like recent years, during COVID, post-COVID. We released an album possibly 10 years ago by Liquid called Energy Flows, and it sold out really quickly and become incredibly sought after. I think it's like 60-70 quid on Discogs if you can pick up a copy. And Eamon and Sanction, they've got an unfinished Liquid album that's 80% finished. It just needs some mixing down. And something that we're talking about doing is re-releasing that album this Christmas with the album that's unfinished, which Sparky's going to complete. And the plan is to give all the profits to Eamon's family. Other ideas, Eamon's wife would like to do an event for Eamon. Eamon always wanted to do like a small documentary about Paul for Music. Obviously the record shop that we worked in, the comic book was a more light-hearted, fun look at our time there, whereas he always wanted to do kind of like a short video art piece about the really small shop that we worked in. So that's something that I want to do. And then also he was really like, as me and his wife were saying last week, la-di-da. He loved the la-di-da things, and like, you know, he had friends in Chelsea, and he was moving in the advertising world with him and Sparky's business that was making music for adverts and TV and stuff like that. And he always we did like corporate gigs, and he loved that side. He loved getting a corporate gig and sending a chauffeur to my house and him flying in from Italy, and it couldn't be further from like my kind of, whoa, come on, raves and underground clubs and festivals. But as time pre-COVID and before he got ill moved on, obviously people love 90s nostalgia, and lots of people in the advertising world and the corporate world, he's full of people who are old ravers. And he used to like, come on, he used to love we did one gig, one corporate gig, and he was introducing me to all of his advertising friends and people in that world. And an idea that I just randomly dropped on Sparky Sanction is, Mark Sparky has got all of Eamon's keyboards that he made all of the music on. Eamon's got loads of memorabilia. I've got countless amounts of memorabilia as well. And I think I'm mind dumping to you all. Something that he would love is like a trendy art gallery like show in like Brick Lane or Chelsea or Camden, like exhibiting all of his kind of like classic artifacts, like his keyboards and his stuff like that, and his all of the stuff from his XL days and being signed, and the amazing things that he's done. Thank you everyone for sharing this experience with me. Please leave all of your comments and your memories and your love for his tunes, your favourite tunes, where you would have seen him out live, if you met him, if you're one of those many people who he got back to on social media, and you've been in his presence in one way or another. Please leave all your comments below. I'm going to play a track from the Energy Flows album, and yeah, I'm going to keep taking him with me every set, every radio show. He's always with me, and the truth of the matter is, when I read through passages from my book, when I read through the Sweet Harmony book, when I read through the comic, when I read through the internet and stuff that we've shared in the past, like, we've always been with each other, because we both started together before what felt like the bigness of our careers. He was a producer, I was a DJ, and that was the vision before he produced a record, and before I went beyond being a warm-up DJ. And I want to leave you with this track from his Energy Flows album, which we will reissue. Thank you, everyone, for the love you've shown him, because he deserves it for his music with Shane, his music with Sanction, and for the amazing human that he was. Thank you, everyone. We will be reissuing this album, and all money will be going to his wife and his daughter.